4 tips for making the best offer in this seller's market. So you've started looking for your next home and you keep hearing about all these multiple offers, bidding wars, people paying ridiculous amounts over the asking price, and out-of-state buyers buying up all the homes with the cash they made selling their $1 million home in LA. And you start thinking to yourself, how am I going to compete? We're going to separate the fact from fiction and give you 4 tips for making the best offer for you and your needs. This is Scott Henninger with the home team broker by eXp Realty. Kim and I routinely write offers for buyers on homes that are in bidding wars. We also work on the other side of the transaction, helping our sellers pick the best offer out of several they've gotten within a couple of days of listing. We have a pretty good perspective on what works and what doesn't. If you want to buy a home in this market, there are several things you need to think about to be sure you're doing all you can to get your offer accepted. First things first, is every offer going to turn into a bidding war? No. But if you decide to make an offer on a home that looks priced correctly and it just came on the market 2 hours ago, yes, probably so. You're probably going to wind up competing. Most multiple offer situations happen on newly listed homes. Make an offer on a listing that's at least a couple of weeks old, and there are a lot more of those than you might think, and you can probably avoid competing offers. However, there's some reason it hasn't gone under contract, and that's where we come in, helping you discover the issues. Are there out-of-state buyers carrying around more cash than they know what to do with and outbidding all the locals? Not really. There are people moving here from other states, and sometimes they have cash to buy a home in our area. But most of them are savvy with their money, and they aren't inflating prices just because they have so much money. They don't care if they overbid. Most out-of-state buyers we've worked with are getting mortgages, and they're careful with their money. There are indeed more cash buyers currently than I've seen in the area for, but here's the thing, you can't control that. All you can do is make the best offer based on your circumstances. If someone beats you out because they have cash and you need financing, move on to the next house. Unfortunately, real estate agents tend to post only the good news. This listing went under contract in 2 hours and sold for $50,000 over the asking price. Well, what you don't hear about are the listings that had 4 price drops over 3 months and finally got an offer 5% under asking price. Want to guess what the average sales price to list price ratio is for homes going under contract in the first week? Around 1.02, which means 2% over listing price. After that first week on average, homes sold at list price or below. And the average time it takes for Tri-Cities home to close from the date it was listed, 50 days or more. Don't get me wrong, it's tough out there as a buyer, but some of the perceptions aren't the norm. So with all that being said, how do you improve the odds of getting your offer accepted? 1, put your agent to work. Make sure your agent runs comps so that you can make an informed bid. Running comps is real estate jargon for comparing the sales of homes similar to the one you want to help determine value. And why is this so important in the current market? The list price could either be too high or too low. Don't think that just because there are multiple offers that the home is priced too low. It could actually be priced too high, but since it just hit the market, desperate buyers are out clamoring to get it. There are so few homes on the market right now that sometimes emotion takes over when bidding wars start and desperation sets in. One particular buyer might not care what similar homes are selling for if they had to have a place to live in 30 days or they're going to be homeless. Just because one person's circumstances cause them to bid 10% over asking price doesn't mean that is what you should do. If the home does happen to be priced too low, you'll want to know its true estimated value so that you can make an aggressive offer, yet not overpay. When you ask for comps, ask the agent to get comparable sales that are no more than 90 days old if possible. 60 days would be even better. Also, make sure that there are actual sales, not homes under contract or currently active. With homes selling over asking price, the listing price often is not a good indicator of worth. 2, your contingencies. Contract contingencies are an important part of your offer and often determine whether or not your offer is accepted. If you're getting a loan, you have the financing contingency. Not much you can do about that. If you're a cash buyer, Great, because that's one less thing a seller has to worry about causing the deal to fall apart. If you're getting a mortgage, not only will you have the financing contingency, but your lender is almost certainly going to require an appraisal. So you really can't waive that contingency unless you have the cash to cover any difference. More on that later. The third contingency, common in most contracts, is the inspection contingency, which lets you out of the contract if you or home inspector find something mechanical, structural, electrical, or in the plumbing that you aren't willing to accept. Now, we never recommend waiving an inspection contingency to our buyers. To us, it just isn't worth the risk. Now, of course, that decision is always yours to make, and it really gives you a leg up on the competing offers. But is that risk worth it in order to get the house? Let's go back to the appraisal contingency for a minute. In general, the appraisal contingency lets you out of the contract if the home appraises for less than the contract price. This doesn't happen often, but in my experience, if a home appraises for less than the contract price, 95% of the time the seller is going to reduce the sales price to match the appraisal and the deal closes. Usually when the seller gets that far along in the process, typically 3 weeks in, they have too much invested in time and effort getting ready for the move, and they don't want the heartache and the hassle of putting it back on the market and trying again, so they go ahead and reduce the price. You're protected by the appraisal contingency, which protects your earnest money and lets you out of the deal legally. At that point, you won't lose anything financially except for the cost of the inspection and the appraisal, so maybe $1,000. Of course, if you have the difference between the contract price and appraisal, you can decide to pay this yourself and still get the house. Just know that this could put you upside down in the investment. What about an appraisal gap? One way to make your offer look better is to put an appraisal gap language in your offer. In simple terms, this commits you to paying up to X dollars over the appraised value if the appraised value comes in below the contract price. If you really want the home, you have the cash, and want to up the odds of your offer being accepted, then you could go this route. 3, we've talked about running comps and the terms of your offer. How about the actual offer price? If I wanted a home, I'd make the offer that I was most comfortable with, considering everything, and know that the appraisal will be there to keep me out of negative equity or making a poor decision because of emotion. But how do we know exactly what to offer when we're trying to win a bidding war? When we work with first-time buyers, for example, we pose this question when we run into multiple offers. At what point would you be disappointed to find out that the other buyer got the home for? As an example, if a home is listed for $300,000 and the comps say it should be worth around $315,000 and there are 3 offers you're competing against, what do you offer? If you found out that one of the other buyers got it for $312,000, would you be upset? Then you might want to bid $315,000, for example. If someone got it for $320,000 and you think that's perfectly fine, stick with where you are. Pick a number that is just as high as you're comfortable with, considering your situation. What is the home worth to you? Is it the first one out of 10 showings that has the exact yard you wanted? Maybe you'd pay more than normal. Is it really nothing special, and if you lose it, you can live with yourself? Then bid less. Thinking about it, I'd decide more on how well the house suited my needs and how moving is going to change my life circumstances. That's my thought process personally, and of course, we're all different. The 4th thing you need, patience. This market is not for the faint of heart. It isn't always easy, and there may well be some disappointments along the way. Be patient. Your house will come along. As long as you keep your expectations in check, we'll be here to guide you for as long as it takes. I hope this video has been helpful. If you found value, please hit the like button and consider subscribing to our YouTube channel. Your support keeps us going. This is Scott Henninger with the Home Team, broker by eXp Realty. Kim and I are exceeding your expectations, whether it's your first home or your last.